Hi, and welcome to Berry Aftercare, the podcast. I'm Dr. Connie Stapleton, and I have a story for you. This one kind of surprised me. Recently, I posted something on Facebook, and somebody from my past, who I'd gone to middle school and high school with, so we're talking a long, long time ago, posted and said, Connie, you never were afraid to say what was on your mind. And it shocked me because I know I'm pretty straightforward and direct now in my life, but I didn't realize I've always been pretty straightforward and direct, which leads into the topic for this episode, which is be assertive. The truth is, I've been more aggressive in my communication than assertive over the years. However, that's for another episode. Today, we're going to be talking about how to be assertive in your communication. And the reason being assertive is the best conversational way to be, or the best communicative way to be. Although it's not the most widely used communication skill, and we're going to talk about the reasons why it's not the most widely used communication skill. But because you are a very, very wise bariatric person and you want to have the best quality of life you possibly can, you've done so many things up to this point to become your healthiest self. We want to go beyond bariatrics and make sure that your communication styles are healthy. Communication styles are really a critical part of your bariatric life because you need to be able to say no. I choose not to eat those things, or you need to be able to say no. I would prefer not to go to that kind of a restaurant. You need to be able to say no, I will not be joining your dinner party, or you need to be able to say yes, I will be bringing these kinds of foods. You need to be able to speak your truth. And it's not an easy task. I remember some years ago sitting at a conference table with all adults. I'm talking people in their 40s and 50s and 60s. And we were having a conversation. I'm like, well, I'd like to know what each of you thinks about this. And one woman was absolutely adamant that she was not going to say anything. And I spoke with her later, and she's like, I'm afraid to speak up in front of people. I'm afraid to say what I think and how I feel. And I was taken aback by that. But this was, of course, after I had had years of education and training in becoming more assertive in my communication. And people have this idea that assertive means you're going to bowl me over, or you're going to be loud, or you're going to be aggressive. It's not. So we're going to talk about what assertive communication is. And in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about aggressive communication, which is not the style that you want to use, and often what people think of when they hear the word assertive communication. It's also not passive, meaning I'm not going to say what I think, or I'm going to say something, but it's not going to be the truth. Nor is it passive aggressive, meaning I'm going to say what I think you want to hear, but I might be feeling something very, very different on the inside. And a lot of times that something different is angry. So there are some main communication styles. We're going to talk about those over the next couple of weeks. Tonight, we're going to talk about assertive communication. And we're starting with assertive communication because this is the goal. And regardless of where you're at in terms of your ability or your willingness to use assertive communication skills, I would encourage you to listen with a very open mind and with the idea of becoming a person who wants to learn and has a goal to become an assertive communicator. It's the healthiest, and we'll talk about the reasons why it's the healthiest. And there will be lots of how-tos in this video and this podcast. And there will be a lot of additional kinds of suggestions for you to get out there and learn more about assertive communication. It makes a difference in your relationship with yourself, in your relationship with food, in your relationship with other people, in your relationship with coworkers, your parents, your siblings, and in your ability to maintain your weight loss. Why? Because if you're not able to speak up and speak on your own behalf, it's going to be very difficult not to end up festering with some anger or some resentment. And what does anger and resentment lead to? Emotional eating. And it's not usually the healthy foods that we're eating when we want something to calm us down or to make us happier. So we're going to talk about this. Let's go. The 4 main points are going to be, what is this assertive communication that I'm rambling on and on about? What are the reasons that assertive communication is the healthiest form of communication? And examples of using assertive communication skills in your bariatric life and beyond bariatrics. Because again, this is something that needs to become a part of your entire worldview, your entire, all of your relationships, and how you think of yourself as being assertive. And then we'll give you some take home messages and some ideas for putting this into practice. So, what is this business of assertive communication? Well, first of all, let me say, as I've already said, it's the preferred, healthiest form of communication, but it's also something few people do and something all of us can learn to do better. So the good news is, even if you find yourself, as I go through the information in this episode, you're thinking, oh my God, I could never, or holy crap, that just sounds terrifying to me. And whew, I don't know. Keep in mind that this is a skill you can learn. It is a learned skill. We don't come out of the womb knowing how to be assertive communicators. In fact, we really don't know how to do anything but cry to communicate. So if we weren't taught it in our families, if they didn't use communication that is assertive with one another, and let me just fill you in, most people don't. Most families don't use assertive communication. They use passive aggressive, or aggressive behavior in their communication. We don't want that. This can be learned. So there's hope for all of us. All right, so I'm going to give you 3 examples where I'm going to use healthy assertive communication. And this is going to be in 3 different areas of your life because, like I said, we want to go beyond bariatrics. This podcast is to help you stay on track with your behavior skills that keep your weight off, but also to improve your life overall. So first, as I go into these examples, I want you to maybe close your eyes and imagine yourself, or just imagine yourself, even if your eyes are closed and you're open and you're driving, having good posture. All right. So, nonverbal communication is very, very important in the process of overall communication. So, the way we stand, the kind of eye contact we use or don't use, says a lot. Assertive communication is direct and it comes from a place of high self esteem. So, already you might be going, oh crap, I'm in trouble. Not so much, not so much, because we can all learn this and we can fake it until we make it. So imagine yourself having good posture, not threatening, not bowing up at somebody, and not staring or glaring at somebody, but just a soft expression on your face, good posture, and the willingness to look at somebody directly in the eyes. So there you go. Relaxed hand gestures. We're not pointing our finger. We're not slamming our fists. We're not shaking. It's just relaxed. Relaxed facial muscles, comfortable, confident, and assured. Ha! All right. So imagine this, even if you've never been in that posture. And certainly you have, right? You've all engaged in assertive communication in different areas of your life. In fact, you might be really good at it at work or in your relationship or with your parents or whatever. But there are other areas in your life where you might be like, oh, I could not ever say that. I have some areas in which this is a weakness. And one of them is financially asking for money if I'm doing work for somebody. It's a difficult thing for me to do. I've gotten better and it's taken practice, but we can all learn to strengthen our weak areas, all right? The word assertive actually means confident or self-assured. And again, if you're not quite there, not to fret because we're going to work on it. We can get there. We're growing, we're developing as people, right? So assertive communication just means confident, self-assured. It doesn't mean I'm going to beat you over the head or expect you to do things my way or get angry and fight with you. Andy Stanley talks about these 4 C's that never work in communication. It's coerce, condemn, convict, or convince. So we're not going to do those things. Those are aggressive forms of communication. we're going to be assertive. So I'm going to give you 3 examples. So listen carefully. There's a common denominator in these that you can absolutely learn to use whether you're feeling confident or not. So first is a bariatric situation. And the situation is whenever you sit down to eat with your sister or your partner or your parent, whoever it is, they're commenting on what you eat. How much of you eat, if you should eat it, should you be eating more, blah, blah, blah. So here's the assertive statement. Mom, when you comment about what I'm eating or not eating at most meals when we sit down, I feel frustrated. And I feel frustrated because I'm an adult and I'm eating like I was taught to at the bariatric center. So when you comment on it, I feel like you're criticizing or you're judging or you're being my food police. So what I would appreciate is if you would just refrain from commenting, knowing and trusting that I'm eating like I was taught at the bariatric center. That was assertive. It was not aggressive. I wasn't shouting or shaking my finger or just assertive, saying what was happening, what I needed, and how I felt about it. All right, here's a work situation. Your boss calls you in. They're kind of a frantic person, right? They're constantly calling you in and saying, okay, I want you to work on this. This is the priority. So now you've got 10 the priorities on your to-do list and your head's spinning. You don't know which is the priority of the priorities. So you walk in and you say to your boss, listen, I just need a minute of your time and I want to show you my list here. And I've got a list of these 10 things, and you've told me that these are all the priority. And when you tell me that each project is the priority, I feel really overwhelmed and I want to get the job done to your satisfaction. So it would really benefit me if you could help me to put these in a priority list. So there you go. I explained how I felt given the situation and asked for help. Relationship situation. All right, so maybe this is you telling your spouse or your partner who just had bariatric surgery about their social behavior, or your spouse saying it to you, either way. Honey, when you spend so much time with your new bariatric friends, I feel left out and lonely because it seems as though you don't want to spend time with me anymore. I would like to either be included in some of your new activities or schedule some activities for just the two of us. Again, no accusing, no accusations, no anger, no judgment, just an observation and how I'm feeling and asking you what I need. That's assertive communication. All right. So another way of saying assertive communication, what it is when we have the kahunas to share or assert our honest thoughts and feelings with another person in a direct way. End of story. What's that? You gasp. Did you say assert myself and tell others how I really feel? Did you say to do this directly? As in, no beating around the bush. And did you say honestly? Like, no sugarcoating, no saying it's okay, but it's not really okay? Why, yes, I did. Not only that, in addition to being honest about how you're feeling and saying what you think and feel directly and clearly, when we engage in assertive communication, we're also respectful of the other person's ideas, the other person's feelings, and their needs. So this really sounds like a tall order, right? And that's one of the reasons it's difficult. One of the biggest reasons it's difficult is it's really taking our emotion, our intense emotions. Like if I'm really angry, I don't want to try to have an assertive communication discussion with my spouse at that time because I'm more likely to be aggressive. So I need to be in a place where I can manage my own emotions so that I can be assertive and share my thoughts and feelings directly. It's easier for me personally to do with a colleague or a boss or to do with a friend than it is, for example, my spouse. So, again, this is something we can learn, and we need to know our triggers, and we need to know when it's a good time and when it's a not a good time to do this. So, when we're having what we would call a direct, assertive conversation with somebody, we need to be mindful. And we need to be mindful, meaning I just have to be aware. Where am I at emotionally? Am I calm enough to talk to them without displaying a lot of intense anger? Am I relaxed enough that I'm not going to glare at them because I'm really angry? Am I able to talk about this without boo-hooing? It's okay if I show emotion, but can I get through the conversation, right? I have to be mindful. And I need to be mindful of the person that I'm talking to as well. So I have to be mindful that we all feel safe, that we pay attention to each other's boundaries, and that I'm willing to listen, not just be heard. Yeah, I want to be heard, but so do they. So I need to be mindful. Requires a whole lot of being an adult, does it not? Right? So a assertive conversation is a mutual exchange. It's being pleasant, a mutual dialogue. I'm willing to listen. I'm grateful that you're willing to listen. I let you know I hear what you're saying. You let me know you hear what I'm saying. And I'm going to still stick to what I need and ask you if you are willing to provide that. I prefer saying this is what I would appreciate or this is what I would like, as opposed to this is what I need, because I don't know that I really have the right to demand something from other person. I can tell them what I need or what I want, but I always have to be mindful that they're not obligated to meet what I need or want. So those are some of the reasons this is difficult. Or maybe you don't quite understand why it's difficult yet. So let me explain. One of the reasons it's difficult for a lot of people to engage in an assertive communication is because it can be really scary. If you know the person that you're going to try to talk to can be very aggressive and forceful, it's going to be a very frightening endeavor. So I wouldn't plan to start there, but you can learn how to have assertive communications even with people who can be a little bit intimidating or difficult. But again, that's not where I would start as you learn to practice this skill. Sometimes people are going to respond kindly, right? And that can be um, off-putting. So again, remember that assertive does not mean aggressive. So when you approach somebody, you want to be mindful that you're not aggressive, even if they respond a little bit aggressively. And being that's one of the reasons this is difficult, right? We don't get to manage how the other person responds. Also, being able to be direct and honest with our feelings and straightforward, this requires a little something within us that some of us struggle with, which is confidence or self-worth. Because maybe we think, well, maybe I don't, no, deserve to be heard here. See my posture? If you're not watching this, you can't see this, but I'm lowering my head. I'm taking my eye contact away. But if we don't believe that we have the right to be heard or that our needs matter, then it's going to be difficult. And this is a problem, right? One we can overcome and one we can learn to manage. But if we have low self worth or low self esteem, and when you come from a community like the bariatric community or where I come from, the world of alcohol and drug addiction, having low self esteem is pretty common in those two worlds because you've been made fun of, or you feel different than, or you feel like you don't fit in, or you've judged yourself harshly or other people have judged you harshly. And so it's hard to muster that from within. So you might have to do a little bit of work on yourself while you're learning and practicing this assertive communication. Because confidence and self-assurance, remember, that's what the word assertive means, assured and confident. So if you don't have those things, it's going to be especially difficult. And as I've talked many, many times before in episodes, if you don't feel good about yourself, if you've got low self esteem, it's going to be very difficult to maintain the behaviors required to keep weight off. Because why? If you remember, our behavior is going to reflect how we feel about ourselves. If I don't have confidence or feel like I'm worthy of direct communication or worthy of a healthy lifestyle, then I'm going to treat myself in ways, i.e., overeating, not exercising, that lead to my not being my healthiest self. So here's another problem. This is why we have so few people who actually use assertive communication. Assertive communication requires you to know how you feel, and then requires you to have the kahunas or the self-confidence or the self-esteem to be able to say it in a healthy way. So a lot of people don't know how they feel, which is why in my class, Gain While You Lose, and a lot of times in the podcast, Berry Aftercare, and on the Berry Aftercare page, we talk a lot about emotions and feelings and learning to identify by word how you feel, because our feelings are great informants. If I'm feeling sad, it can tell me what I need. If I'm feeling angry, it can tell me what I need. If I'm feeling frightened, my frightened tells me I need safety, or I need security, or I need companionship. So if we learn to be in touch with our feelings, we're going to be much better able to express ourselves with assertive communication and get our needs met. All right, so a lot of reasons why this is difficult. But again, this is a learned skill. You can learn the skill and fake it till you make it while you're working on your self-confidence, while you're practicing being in touch with your emotions. But keep in mind, if you grew up in a household that didn't allow for certain feelings, what do I mean by that? Not allow for certain feelings. Well, maybe you grew up in a home where it was, if you show any kind of anger, don't get sassy with me, or I don't want to hear from you. You know, you're shut down, you're dismissed. You're told, don't feel angry, in essence. Or if you show sadness, you're sad, let me give you something to be sad about, right? So maybe you're intimidated or frightened, so you're not going to express any sadness. These things happen in all kinds of different ways in families. And so directly or indirectly, you learn it's not okay for me to express my feelings. So, learning to identify and express your feelings is absolutely something we can all learn and practice. So, this assertive communication, not surprising that it's difficult, but as I said, you can learn this, and you can learn to value yourself more. You can learn that your feelings are valid. You can learn that you are worth sharing your feelings, that you have the right to share your feelings. All right, so in preparation for becoming this assertive communicator, because it is something you want to do, and I'll give you some more reasons why in just a minute, you might want to take some online classes. This is a to-do for you. All right, you might want to take some online classes, or just do some reading on Google, or listen to some podcasts about assertive communication, or learning to value yourself, or identifying and expressing your emotions. Those are all really great things. Or see a therapist and start working on some self-confidence and all of these other skills as well. So therapy or a coach is a great thing to invest in so that you can learn to be a healthy, assertive communicator, which is how you get win-win situations. All right, so here's some of the reasons. Number 2 major point for today. What are the reasons assertive communication is the healthiest form? Well, to begin with, it's respectful. It's respectful of yourself, A, because you're giving yourself enough respect to say, I deserve to be heard. I deserve to share what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling. So it's self-respect, but it's also respectful of another, because you're not going to beat them over the head with what you're thinking. You're not going to be angry. You're not going to pound your fist. You're not going to shake your finger. You're not going to scream. It's calm. So when people are like, oh, I could never say how I think or feel, it's because maybe they're imagining aggression. It's not what we're going for here. Or it might be, I don't feel worthy. Either way, assertive is calm. It's not confrontational. It's just saying how I think, how I feel, and what I want. It's being a healthy adult. And hopefully, We all want to develop in that arena because I got a secret for you. This is a sad, sad commentary. There's not a lot of a healthy adult behavior out in our world. Look around you. Watch people at the store. Watch people at the airport or in a line. There's not a lot of a healthy adulting going on, but when you see it, it's a beautiful thing. All right. So remember, assertive communication is also a win-win, and it's a win-win because of that mutual respect. I'm respecting myself and I'm respecting you. So we're more likely to get a mutually beneficial outcome from whatever it is we're discussing because we're being respectful. Also, and this is sort of a repeat, but I'm going to say this a lot because we don't know it. We've got to hear it over and over and over. People who are assertive talk in clear and respectful and direct ways. We don't beat around the bush. Well, I kind of sort of thought maybe I would, I was sort of kind of feeling this way. I felt angry. I felt hurt. I felt sad. I felt alone. I felt dismissed. I felt confused. I felt conflicted. Whatever it happens to be. So we're going to share our wants, our needs, our positions, our boundaries. I'm sorry, I'm not going to sit here and let you yell at me. When you're able to talk to me calmly about this, I'm happy to re-engage in the conversation. Healthy boundary, right? So I'll tell you a story about that. When I was very young and just starting my professional career, I had a woman whose office was across the hall from mine, and I had asked if I could sit in on a conference that another professional was doing, and they told me I could. Well, she was so ticked off at me, I guess because I had the kahunas to ask, and that she wasn't going to be there. I guess she should have asked and they might have let her do. I don't know. She railed on me for about 40 minutes, and I sat there and took it with my head just down because that's how my life was at home. People yelled and shouted and screamed and had arguments for very long periods of time. So when I went to therapy and I was talking to my therapist about this, she said to me, "Don't you ever let somebody do that to you again. You need to respect yourself. You need to set boundaries." Little segue there. All right, so back to our assertive communication. So it's basically like being fair and firm. Sound like anybody you know? Which I have learned. So people can improve their assertiveness through practice. You can practice, you can rehearse, you can do some exercises, you can learn. So it's a doable thing, doable thing. And the benefits, a lot of positive. Once you learn to engage in this kind of communication, there's not a lot of anxiety about having discussions with people because it's like I can go in there, I can say what I think, I can say how I feel, and I can do so calmly. Oh, my dog. Darla, drop it. Drop it. She wants to play, and it is not playtime. Come here, girl. Okay. Come here. Come here. Um, so once you learn this, you're going to be less anxious about talking to people. You're also going to feel calm. You're going to feel confident. And this is going to improve your self-esteem. It's going to improve your self-confidence. It's going to improve your self-efficacy, right? Because you're going to believe and know that you can. You're going to feel calm, confident, and it will reward you with higher self-esteem and confidence. So we know from prior episodes that healthier self-esteem and higher confidence leads to healthier behaviors towards self because I feel like I deserve them. And when I feel good about myself, I'm going to do things that are good for me. I will be less tense and upset about conversations, so I'll be less likely to engage in emotional eating, and I'll be less likely to regain weight. It's a win-win all the way around. So this is going to help you in your bariatric lifestyle and beyond bariatrics. So let's dive into the third major point. How do I do this? How do I be assertive? So first thing to remember is that your nonverbal communication is important. You want to be relaxed. You want to be willing to look people in the eyes. You want to remind yourself that I'm worth this. You might have to do some looking in the mirror beforehand and say, I am worth this. I deserve this. I am confident. Stand in the, the power position for a minute just by putting your hands on your waist and looking at yourself in the mirror. It's been shown through research to have a positive effect when you speak to other people. Go in mindful that I'm going to maintain a calm resolve. I'm going to speak calmly. I'm going to listen to other people. Even if they raise their temperature and the volume of their voice, I'm going to remain calm and confident. Here's your best tool. I'm going to give you this format. And if you remember at the very beginning of the episode, I gave 3 examples and they all followed this format. When blank, I feel or I felt blank because blank, what I would like is. So let me redo those conversations that I did initially. The parent or the whomever who's commenting on your every meal and every bite you take. Mom, when you make a comment about what I'm eating or how much I'm not eating, whatever the case is, I feel frustrated. When you blank, 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 when the situation is, I feel blank, or if it's past tense, I felt, because I know I'm doing what I learned at the bariatric center. What I would like from you is for you to trust that I'm taking care of what I need to do. And then you've said what you need to say, all right? And in the boss situation, it was when you give me a list and tell me everything is the priority, so when, explain the situation, I feel overwhelmed. I'm telling you how I feel in relation to this situation. What I would appreciate is you helping me to prioritize these because I would like to make your life work better for you. Okay, pause. I'm letting my dog out. Come on, Darla. You are being naughty girl during the podcast, so you must go outside. Go. Okay. Sorry about that. Real life dictates that dog is driving me crazy. Darla, when you beg and plead for your chew toys that make all kinds of noise while I'm doing my podcast, I feel very frustrated and anxious because I would like to do a quality podcast and this makes it difficult. I would like for you to go outside. So there you go. Real life, real moment situation. All right, so that's the best formula you can use. When blank, I feel blank because blank, what I would like is blank. And then if they come back to you with, well, I'm just trying to help. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So what, you don't want me to help? You know what? I appreciate that you want to help. I don't need your help because I want to assure you that I am doing what they told me to do at the bariatric center, right? So you can come back. You're going to play here's another how-to. Be like a broken record, right? This is how I feel, just repeat what you're saying. You can change it up a little bit. Again, I just want to remind you that when you say everything's a priority, I get overwhelmed and I can't give you what you're wanting as an employee. So just keep repeating yourself, not in a jerky kind of way, but just in a way to reiterate, this is the circumstance. This is how I'm feeling. This is what would help me. Is this something you can do to help? Or are you willing to do to help me? All right, so listen. When they say something to you, hear what they've said. What I hear you saying is you would like to help me, Mom. Here's something that you could do, right? So if you hear them, they're going to be much more inclined to go along because maybe Mom really is just trying to help, or maybe your boss is just, a little flaky and just intense, or whatever they are. Who knows? But just ask them, can you help me with this? And here's the outcome for both of us, the win-win. So listen and stay clear. Don't waver from your point, but be willing to compromise, but not to do away with what you need, but you can't be demanding, right? So if they're being argumentative or defensive, just say, listen, this is what I'm asking for. Are you willing to or can you? And if they can't, they can't. So here's the deal. You have to be willing not to get defensive. Why aren't you going to help me? You say you want to help me. Why aren't you going to help me? Now I'm aggressive. I don't want to do that. Mom, I told you what I need or what I would like from you. If you can't do it, then I have to learn to accept that. I don't like it, but I can't make you do what I want you to do from me. So you have to be listening, you have to be clear, you have to be willing to take feedback. And again, this is so easy to do on paper and so hard to do in real life. And one of the things that makes it hard is because your emotions might start to rise if they're not playing fair and if they're not engaging in assertive, direct, honest communication. You're likely to get worked up or you're likely to shut down, whatever your normal MO is. So this takes a lot of practice. All right. So here's some things that you can do as you're working on becoming more assertive. Maybe write it all out. Write down, I've been thinking about this interaction I had with my kid or my boss or whomever, and I'm going to try to write it out in this I feel, or when this happened, I felt this way because this is what I need, or what I would like, or what I would appreciate. So write it out and practice it with somebody that you trust and say it over and over and over again. Or maybe take it written down with you. That is okay as you learn to do this, because in time, you're going to use this skill in the moment. As you learn to recognize your emotions and feelings, you could say, hold on here. I'm feeling really frustrated by how you're talking to me. I would appreciate if you could calm down and stop raising your voice, right? You can use this in the moment, but it takes a lot of skill and a lot of practice. So when you start, write it down, practice it out, practice it with other people. And keep in mind what you're trying to do. You're trying to share your thoughts, your feelings, your wants in a calm and respectful manner. And you got to remind yourself sometimes, because we don't always think that what we have to say or what we need or we want is valid or important. It is. It is. Keep the emphasis on how you feel. I feel. It seems to me. It appears to me that. I would appreciate if you would consider. Not you have to, right? So keep it on you, as in the communicator, not you're a jerk or you aren't listening to me or you always this and you never that. It'll never work. When this happens, I feel. When you change the subject, so I'm not saying you always change the subject. When you change the subject, I feel discounted. I would like to discuss what I brought to the table, right? So it's always I feel, I think, I would like. If your emotions get too big and you start getting really angry, or you get too scared and you want to shut down, just say, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. I'm feeling frustrated. I would like to take a time out for 5 or 10 minutes, regroup, recenter, and come back to this. So set a boundary. Take a time out if you need to. And here's the other thing. Here's the hardest thing about this is not having expectations about other people. I think about this a lot. I go to my husband, I'm calm, I share my thoughts, my feelings, what I'm hoping he'll excuse me, agree to. And he's caught up in his defensiveness. And he's not hearing me at all. And I'm like, oh, well, this backfired. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. Because I have to remember that my goal was to share my thoughts, my feelings, what I would appreciate, without having an expectation that he should jump on the bandwagon. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, sure, honey, never mind that I'm really ticked off at you too. Sorry, a little cough in here, more real life. Connie, when you cough in the middle of the podcast, I feel irritable. I wish you would eat a cough drop. Okay, I will. Okay, so remember, this is how I think, this is what I feel, this is what I would like. And be willing to compromise and absolutely not expect everyone to go along with you just because you're doing it the way you hope everybody would. All right, so that's enough for today. That was enough. I might even do a part B on assertive communication. In fact, I think I will. And what I'll do next time, before we go into aggressive or passive aggressive or passive communication, is just give some more great examples of assertive communication. And if you want, you can email me at cstapletonphd@gmail.com, or go to the, my website or on the Berry Aftercare page and ask for some help with some situations. And I'll go over those next time on the podcast. So here's some things that I would encourage you to do. Encourage other people, to listen to the podcast. And then I would encourage you to play what I call the feelings game. And the feelings game is every night when you lay down, I've shared this before, is to say today, and just start with the simple sad or upset, lonely, anything that's sad to you. Today I felt sad when. Today I felt mad or angry or upset. So sad and mad, happy or grateful, and scared. So start with basic emotions or whatever you want to do. Today I felt sad when. Today I felt angry when. Today I felt happy when. Today I felt frightened when. And encourage the other people in your home to do the same thing. That way, you're teaching everybody, A, that it's okay to have emotions, B, that we all do have emotions, even the adults, and C, that we can express our emotions and it's okay. And then to take it a step further is, what would I have liked to have said or done in this situation in an assertive, direct, kind manner? When blank, I felt sad because here's what I would like. Here's what I would appreciate. Today I felt angry when blah, 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 because whatever it is. So write out that sentence using each one of the four emotions, or think it through in your head as you're drifting off to sleep. And then join the Berry Aftercare group. Great support group, www.berryaftercare.com. And tune in next time and we'll go over more great information on assertive communication, and I'll use real life examples that people send in to go through examples of assertive communication. And then we'll get into the other forms of communication and always bring it back to this is how you handle it in an assertive fashion. So I apologize for my dog now trying to get in and break down the window, but there you have it. Remember that we're doing all of this because of your health. You want to maintain your health, you want to maintain your weight loss, because this is your life. You want to live it the best you can, when, this day, and every day, and nobody else is coming to do it for you. So might as well learn it to do it the best on your own. I will talk to you next time. Make it a great one, my friends. Thanks for being part of the podcast. Invite others